Alex here with Straights on the Fly fly tying with Arex Hook Company and Pro Sportfisher Tube. Just having fun tying up an array of patterns. I want to show you one that I used to tie is very customizable for any water, any species. It's in that Munker family that I love so much. Kim Sorensen's original pattern. What I like about that pattern is it's very customizable with different zonkers. You've seen my tsunami where I do just a fox wing on it. You can use pine squirrel zonkers. Anything that you can get a hide and zonk, you can essentially try it out. The color combos are endless. There's a different array of weights you can use as well, which is really fun. So today I'm going to use the Microtube. Which is perfect. I like these a lot, especially for a no-body design, essentially where we put a weight or bead right on the back and it hits against the flange with a hook holder right there. So this you put that on at the end of it and you can get the hook set away. If you have a 360 pattern, you can also free swing junction it too, where you don't push it back on there, just depending on the water type you want to fish. So the Microtube is here. This is the Pro drop weight. If you've seen my videos before, it's similar to the Skittle tube in a way, yet this one is machined to fit their tubes and very high quality. I like it because the weight is then distributed, the mass is towards the head of this weight versus a US tube. And so this works out very nicely on a Munker style where you have a heavy zonker and a big head on it and you want it to track true and balance out with a hook. So I simply slide that on. You could add thread and glue it on as well. I find this usually holds pretty good for me. I'm not tying anything onto it, so as long as it stays back there, that works very well. I don't know where my razor blade went, but I'll just use scissors. So I'm using the 50 denier 12-aught nano silk. I like to use a razor knife to cut it. If you are going to do it with scissors, be careful. It can dull your scissors. Just open them up all the way and do it right at the base of that and go through, and it generally cuts it really well. So this is that a Sculpin Munker is what I call it, and a sculpin is a bait fish in our rivers here in the Great Lakes. That essentially is just a swimming type of bait fish that our fish key in on a lot, whether it's the brown trouts in the rivers, the steelhead coming in, our lake run browns or sea run browns, all of it. If they spend any time in the river, we'll be familiar with a sculpin type bait fish. So sculpin are kind of natural, olivey, kind of an ugly fish, and so break out your natural colors for this. I'm just gonna start here right away. I'm gonna use this glitz dubbing, Nasty Rusty by Frodin. Just a great color combo of some golds, olives, and coppers, tans, rust. And I just kind of mix it in my hand a little bit. I'll do the same on the underside. And I like to reverse tie this in more or less as a hackle and just give some sparkle on the underbody of this fly. So I work it up like so. You can take your cone pusher here and just slide it back, make sure nothing's tangled, and tie it down. I'll add a little bit of glue just to make sure the synthetic is held in place. And I really like how using this as a hackle, you almost begin to form a shape on the body that's somewhat teardropped, a nice hollow look to it. And I just cut it at a few different lengths, and I don't mind leaving this long on these and kind of scruffy as well. At this point, I'll do an underwing of accent flash copper So just probably one of my most used flashes or accent type flashes here in the Great Lakes. I like copper and a lot of different things for our water and tributary. Copper and olive is just a go-to fly for us. If it's what black and blue is to the Pacific Northwest, I would say olive and copper is to our Great Lakes streams in my experience. And this is just simply an underwing that I'm going to taper and provide just a touch of lift to the zonker here. So I've tied these many ways, obviously, just a wing of fox, American possum, pine squirrels, and then I still like rabbit quite a bit. And this is just a natural colored rabbit right here. You can use your olives, grays, browns, anything in between. What I do is first taper the zonker, which just simply means it's fatter on the front and it works out to a point. Doesn't have to be exact. I oftentimes will just taper it like this, where I pull the hair back in my hand and then I just use my scissors and cut it to a point. That way I don't cut the hair. And then I'll also reverse it the other way and do the same thing. As long as it's larger here and works to a point, that works out really well for me. And then on the front, I will tie or cut a small slit, just a few millimeters, and I'll show you why I do that. Now, one of the reasons for tapering out a zonker, regardless of what it is, rabbit or American possum, is if you were to just tie a zonker on a hook with no taper, just completely flat, and you put it in a swim tank, you'll notice that what will happen is the hook is going to roll because the water is catching on that. If you cut it into a taper, the roll begins to stop, and just the physics of it, it's a nice wing. It tends to stay and keep from rolling and ride true in the water. And it tends to move a little bit more because you're sparser here and bigger here. And so here's how I like to tie my rabbit strips in, is I'll actually tie it in reverse like so. And I like that slit in there as well. And I kind of spread it around my tube ever so slightly. And I lock it in really, really good. You can add glue here if you want to as well. Once it's in, I'll do it is I'll take it and I'll pull it back and I'll free up some of those fibers from that slit, and I'll take that rabbit now and over the kind of top half of the tube, maybe a little bit more, 200 degrees or so, and I just simply add some thread in front so I don't actually come back on the material. And what I'm after here, and you can kind of pull on it and get it to set, is I naturally want this the rabbit to kind of ride up like so, to really push against the water, but it also keeps it from getting tangled in the tube or the hook as well. So this is a really quick and easy way to get a lot of volume out of your zonker fly, as it were. And you can see you can simply put some dubbing behind a zonker, a little bit of flash or whatever, and tie it just like this, and you don't need much material to keep it lifted up. So at this point, what I'll do is take a ringneck pheasant rump, just all natural here, and I'm just trying to put some hackles on it to calm down this wing slightly so it's not riding too far out and looks wonky. Obviously, even if it was like that, at the end it might even move better in the water. The water is going to kick it and it's going to want to fight the water constantly. So it's just a simple trick to get a little bit more movement out of your zonker strip, and consequently keep it from tangling in a hook. And it has more of a teardrop profile now, and you can see how it sits when we add a nice hackle in there. And this natural goes very well. Okay, trim that away. I'm gonna add some flash here, and I just have some various olive and tan type flash wing mixes. All of them are nice. So it says kind of browns, tans, banana, olive. Let me see, I don't need that much. And I like the way the flash wing will sit up in this. If I just put Flashaboo, it tends to just fall all over the place. Where if we do this flash wing type, we get a little bit of structure in it as well, which helps it to sit up with the wing a little bit more. So I spread it like so and reverse it as well. And then obviously up the sides we'll trim so we don't have too much hanging down, and we'll just taper it out. And I don't mind this part of the flash just a little bit shorter than the tail. It can all sit more up here like a shroud. That way nothing's getting tangled up back there, and you'll notice that flash wing flash really kind of sets up a little bit more and stays up with that wing. I tend to like that quite a bit, and you can just trim off from the side, which will keep that from going down and getting tangled as well. So there we go. At this point, I'm gonna add these kind of olive and copper rubber legs. I like the Lazer legs a lot from Snake River Fly Shop in Idaho, I believe. So I just simply tie 2 in at a time like that. And there's a lot of grip on the thread in the rubber, so you don't need to reverse it or anything. You simply get a few wraps and tie it in. And then I'll rotate the same way, kind of angled down. Like so. Those are solid. And then I'll leave the bottom ones a touch longer and then trim the top ones just a little bit shorter. And that's just, I don't want these side ones getting up into the hook, so we can trim them a touch less. And if they're different lengths, then they won't stick together as well. And now, again, we'll take some ringneck pheasant rump, and we're gonna make kind of like the pectoral fins on this Sculpin as well. So pick out a couple. They don't have to be the longest. What I'll do is kind of clean these up the same length, and you can leave them fairly large if you want. And I'll tie them in concave. So now they're gonna fight against the current. If you look at a Sculpin, they have these kind of big ugly fins sticking out right behind their head. And this pheasant has some really nice barring, and it's really light, and it'll sit and act just like those fins. We'll go like this. You can reverse and capture those. I'll trim these away, the stems. Now you can go right to the deer head, or you can add one more hackle if you want. It's totally up to you. I want to just get a little bit more olive in the front now. If you see any flash you missed before, you can go ahead and cut it there. This ringneck pheasant rump is one of the most one of my favorite hackles. It's a very nice thin stem, so you get plenty of wraps out of it. It has a very spay-like quality to it. It just looks fantastic as a finishing hackle on temple dogs or anything else. And one of the best things, it's readily available and very inexpensive for a hackle. You can even do small spay flies with it on the smaller ones as a blue-eared pheasant substitute. Some of the feathers you get in the pack are quite long, so if you get some of the really long ones in a pack, maybe hold on to those for special fly or special circumstance. But what you can do with your small ones that you're not going to hackle, you can save those for pectoral fins like that, for these sculpin or baitfish in your own river as well. And that way you don't just have to throw them away. Beautiful. So now we're going to go ahead and do the Munker head. Let me go ahead and make sure everything's very secure. Wonderful. And we're going to slide this forward. Trim away. Make sure you don't breathe and burn off your thread. Okay, and here I have kind of a home-dyed baitfish olive type of deer hair. The deer hair that you want is deer belly. It's the most hollow, tends to spin the best, and you need something that spins really well to get that nice, to get it to spin on a tube. And I'll show you a little trick that I do for tying a muddler head or Munker head on a tube. So I go ahead and pack it, and that aligns the tips for us. Then we can figure out about how big we want it and trim away some of the waste. We'll do a nice wide one on this. The Sculpins have a big fat head. So I do a couple turns. You need it tight enough so it doesn't slip away, but loose enough to where you can still add another pinch of the deer hair and still get it to spin. So you just have to play with that. You'll know if it's too loose because everything will just fall out. And you'll know if it's too tight if you have a real hard time spinning afterwards. So just enough tension to hold it there in place. And we'll cut off another. And for also deer hair and spinning, you really want to get under fur out of it. For whatever reason, that kind of inhibits its ability to roll and spin. And you might lose a couple when you do this. I lost my longer piece in there, which is for this longer hair. Don't bother packing it, and one of these deer hair packers tends to give you a kind of a stronger head as well. Just looks very nice when you do it. Now we get about a turn and a half, 2 turns, perfect. Then we got that nice wide head, and I'll take this. Now you kind of see what we're working with. And you really can control how big or how little you want the head. You can practice going as sparse as you can, and you can practice getting a big bulky head like this as well. It all depends what you want. For the Sculpin, I kind of want a big meaty fly that's really going to make some noise and get noticed, and hopefully capture the attention of a steelhead or big brown trout. And these are very customizable as far as, you know, the color of the tube, the amount of weight that you want. You could just simply slide a flexi bead back. You could put a cone, small cone, if you wanted very little weight as well. This one has a little bit more weight, so I would look at this as more of a winter fishing. And as always, we'll grab the curved razor. So this is good for me that this wing actually sits up like that. It's kind of a funky way of doing it, but it moves. It tends to move a lot more, and I just don't get tangles down in the tube since the wing is constantly fighting the water like that. So that's the whole idea behind reversing it as well. When you trim these munkers, the key is don't trim a bunch at once. You need to take your time, and you're essentially holding your razors at the angle of the shape you want. And the shape you want is kind of like a turbo cone or a disc. So we hold it out and away. And you know, it's one of those things, making these heads, you just have to kind of practice and do it. And I kind of work my way up and down. You get a lot of staggered lengths in it. You don't want to trim all the tips off in the back, so be careful. Once you make your way a little bit, you can fluff it back out with your hands. And just be careful though, because if you can really get into this and kind of get hypnotized by doing it, and next thing you know, you got the smallest head. It doesn't have to be perfect, remember. So even if it's a little scraggly, that's still going to be fine, but you want to leave enough to push water. Notice how I always use the tube right there as kind of my measurement, so I don't come in and cut it off like that. Once you get to this point, it's just, you know, aesthetics. That's pretty good. As far as those go, you can come in a little bit and just kind of taper a few more pieces on there to your liking. Whether you just want to sparse it up or get a better picture, but if I come up and try tapering, I don't use my scissors all the way. I'm just lightly doing a couple and doing a couple. And I should probably stop, else I won't have anything left. So I'll show you both sides now. So we have that nice wide, and the idea, I hope you can see it, is you want the deer hair to follow the curve of the body, just like a turbo comb would do. And the same thing here, it should go like this with the body, and that's how the water will push. So I would be very happy with that, and leave it and go fish at as is. And one thing you'll notice with these Munker flies is if you take them out of the air and you put them down in the water, sometimes you'll see air bubbles kind of coming out. So they don't just swim through the water, they tend to kind of push their way through the water. So very unique in that sense. And here's a top view. Hope you can see the kind of sculpin fins, rubber legs in just for fun. Why not? A little bit more noise. And that's the Great Lakes Sculpin Munker. Thank you for tuning in.